Always delighted to have a returning guest, and on this episode, I have none other than Jorge Aguirre returning to talk with me about creating an animation and graphic novels and all sorts of creative processes for a pretty wide range of readers as well. So, Jorge, thank you for coming back.
Thanks for having me back, Jason.
My pleasure. Anytime, anytime. It's always an open space for you. I know we were just talking about your continued work in animation, and the last time we did kind of a 3,000 foot view look at some of your work on series like Giants Beware and some of those titles. But I know since the last time we talked, there was also a book called Call Me Iggy that was released. And
That's
so I
right.
thought we might do a little bit of talking about that to start out with.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so this was Call Me Iggy is a more young adult oriented story and very realistic, very grounded um, in a lot of ways. So curious about what creating in this way allowed you to explore.
Well, there's like three things operating at the same time in Call Me Iggy. One
Hmm.
is I borrowed a lot from my personal life growing up as a Colombian American in Columbus, Ohio, and that lens of kind of being in an other group in a place where you look different from everybody else and you're culturally different from everybody else. Took that, added a little bit of magic realism, which as a Colombian is very popular.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
so we have a dead character coming to life. And then our editor, Mark Siegel at First Second Books, recommended that we set it right on the eve of the Trump 2016 election, Trump and Clinton. And that really put a whole different spin on it. And it's it's so interesting because it made me kind of take my own experiences then and kind of funnel them through what would have been like more recently to live those experiences.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I thought it was a wonderful way to explore your own, it's the most personal book, but yet setting it at the in a different time period gave me a lot of freedom. But there's a lot of Jorge in there, for better
Yeah.
or worse. Hopefully for better.
Absolutely. I love it when authors put parts of their lives and experiences in books. And I especially love when there's kind of the reveal, when there's a moment that an author points to something in a graphic novel or a book and says, oh, yeah, that was my grandmother's this, or that was the time I felt this. Love that human creative spirit.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of that. There's the dad in the book is very similar to my dad, rest in peace. So a lot of my daddy issues I kind of explore in the book. A lot of my experiences in Colombia, because when I grew up, I wasn't that into Colombia.
Mhm,
Hit
mhm,
me like when I was in my late teen or 18 or so. And there's a lot of like personal stuff. Like my godmother used to call me, she would curse a lot and she'd call me culicagao, which is a bad word in Spanish.
mhm.
And so I put that in the book.
Nice, nice.
She
The
taught me all my
voices of
stuff.
family members.
Yes, there's a lot of family there. And, there's Colombians are famous for their sayings. So I got those from my relatives because my parents have passed away. So I went to my aunts and uncles and got a lot of Colombianisms for me.
And you said you learned all of your curse words from family members. Is that what you
I
just said?
did. I did. I mean, I had one aunt in particular who I adored. She was my godmother, and she cursed like nonstop. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all part of the family, all part of the traditions, I suppose. And,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So now you get to carry that forward and put that in the book as well because it's authentic.
Teach a whole nother generation curse words in Spanish. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
That's what's gonna be on my gravestone.
I had this moment today. I am monolingual, unfortunately, and I teach students that speak a variety of languages. And I had this moment today where I realized you can just talk to Google Translate and it will automatically just spit out what you're saying. Like I've used it to type
Oh,
in before, but I was kind of up at the board with a laptop speaking into it and it would say what I was saying. It's like, this is like Star Trek. This is
that
great.
is pretty cool. Although I'd stay away from the curse words because you don't know
True.
how it's gonna come out.
That's true. That's true. So Call Me Iggy is a rather extensive work. It's 200 plus pages. I'm curious about the creative process because I know that graphic novels, from what I've heard, are a beautiful thing, but also a thing that takes a good bit of time.
Well, for the artist especially, I was the writer, and but I can tell you from Raphael, he was drawing it for 3 years or more.
Mhm, mhm,
The the writing and drawing process was unlike any other book I'd worked on. Again, to the credit of our editor, Mark Siegel, he really pushed me and Raphael to do something very different because we'd done the Claudette books; those are much younger age, fantasy
mhm,
based,
mhm,
and I'll start with the art. So Raph was drawing very cartoony art, like we did in Claudette. And Mark was like, no, 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 go more realistic, go more realistic. And that's different for Raph. And it was great. I think he learned a lot. But then he also said, for me, I'm used to taking my outline, then I turn into a script. I have a lot of control over where all the pieces are going. And he suggested that we just riff off of the outline. So Ralph came to visit me in New Jersey from Columbus, Ohio, and we spent a weekend with the outline and just broke it down beat by beat. He would do scribble on index cards, like drawings of what he thought the scene would look like. I would throw up dial that I would write in the room. And I'm a tweaker, so it's hard for me to work that way. I'm a guy that like I write a draft and then I rewrite it and I rewrite it and I rewrite it. So this was very uncomfortable for me.
mhm,
But it
mhm.
really, I think it lent to like a much looser story, a story that kind of follows more emotion than plot points.
Yeah,
And I learned a lot from it. I didn't love working that way because I had to give up a little bit of control, but I learned a lot. And I'm going to borrow things from that. And I have as I've written other stuff. But in and of itself, it was very uncomfortable and it produced really nice, heartfelt results.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's an absolutely beautiful book. So I'm glad that you went to the places of discomfort and the places of comfort as well and shared them.
Mostly discomfort, but yes, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Now you have another book that is on the way that's a quick turnaround. You have Monster Locker. I've seen that out being promoted around. I believe it's first second as well.
It
Um,
is.
yeah. Uh, so curious about any glimpse that you would like to give listeners of that book.
Oh, that book has been a lot of fun. Also takes place in Columbus, Ohio. I'm just obsessed with my birthplace, I guess. But I'm doing that with a partner, Andres Vera Martinez. He's a Tejano who lives in Maine, who's super talented. He just did the Neil Shusterman book, Courage to Dream, which is
Oh, nice. Yeah.
beautifully drawn, beautifully executed, great writing as well. And he's been my partner on this Monster Locker series, which is a little bit younger than Call Me Iggy, more
Hmm.
like middle grade. And it's the story of a kid named Pablo who is this Mexican American kid in Columbus, Ohio, and his locker is a portal to monster worlds. So monsters pop out of his locker. And in the first book, he has to kind of deal with a goddess who he thinks is a monster, Coatlicue from Aztec mythology. And in dealing with her, he also learns a lot about himself.
Hmm. Hmm. Love the weaving of mythology. And I was a big monster kid growing up too. So anytime there's some sort of cryptozoology involved, I'm always interested in that.
Me too. I love those Greek myths. And we're trying to tie each Pablo and the character has like two other friends, and we try to tie each book into the kid's cultural identity
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
have them learn something about themselves while exploring a monster that's specific to their identity.
Love it. Love it. And of course, the thing that readers can now do is they can discover your work early on and follow it up to work like Call Me Iggy when they're a little bit older. So there's a really nice span there as well.
I love that. I hope that happens.
Yeah, yeah. I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised at all. Um, so I think that brings us to the final question. It sounds like Monster Locker is coming up next creatively. Is there anything else that's on the horizon that you'd like to mention that you can talk about?
Well, Monster Hunter will be out in October,
Hmm.
and I've just turned in the script for the sequel to Call Me Iggy,
Nice, nice.
and we're gonna explore a different dead relative who's gonna come to life. maybe not Iggy's dead relative, maybe somebody else's, which I can't reveal. But that book, I don't know when it'll come out. We're still at the scripting phase, so Raphael's got a lot of drawing ahead of him. Monster Locker book one comes out in October,
Mhm.
and Andres is drawing Monster Locker book two. And I don't know when that'll
Awesome.
come out, but that's been a lot of fun to write as well. So those are so I have a couple more books coming out that'll follow that, and then I have one more book coming out for young kids, the Claudette age, but I haven't even started writing it yet, so I can't talk about it. But it'll be fun. It'll
I
be
love that you have a creative plan, and I love that you have these two series now that are ongoing spaces for readers.
Thank you. I enjoy every book for like different reasons. You know, it's
Mhm,
just like
mhm.
very different. Claudette
Yeah,
was fun to write. Iggy was fun to write, painful but fun. And then Monster Locker was great. Just a fun ride too.
yeah, yeah. Well, spaces where people can learn more about your work, any online spaces like websites, social media, things of that nature, classroom visits as well. I want to give you the chance to talk about that if that's something that you do.
Well, thanks. I mean, the best way to find out about what I'm up to tends to be on Instagram or Threads. I'm pretty active around there. I have a day job in kids animation, so I haven't done very many school visits, although I would like to. So I'm hoping to try to carve out some more space this coming year to do that.
Yeah,
And but yeah, if you just search for my name, there's not too many of us. There's a soccer player with my name, but if you exclude the soccer player, there's not a lot of Jorge Aguirre's out there.
you are one of a kind.
Apparently, at least for now. We'll see who the next Jorge Aguirre is.
That's right. That's right. Well, anything that we've missed that you want to make sure to share before we close out?
Well, I just hope that if there's a thread, right, that goes through all the books that I write, even Claudette, which is identity and thinking about who you are, how you fit into the world. I mean, it's something we all think about. And I think, if you're a teenager, Call Me Iggy is a pretty good book to kind of think about that. And
Hmm.
that, and I think Monster Locker for the same reason if you're middle grade, and Claudette if you're first grade to fifth grade type of thing. So I think if hopefully people check out the work and this they're not just romps. They're sort of like a message that I'm trying to explore.
Hmm.
And maybe someday I'll get tired of exploring that message in new ways, but not yet.
Nice, nice. Well, I always look forward to the work and I always enjoy the conversation. Glad to have you back anytime. And many thanks for taking the time.
Thanks a lot, Jason. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Absolutely.